A step-by-step process on how to file returns online. How to file a pay-as-you-earn return. Go to the URA web portal www.ura.go.ug. Click on Login. Provide your login ID and password. On the left-hand menu, point on e-returns. Under the column for original, select Pay as you earn.
Here for another webinar once again with our colleagues from Kampala Capital City Authority.
Yes, thank you for joining us once again. And today we'll be having a talk, and a discussion will be centered around the differences, the similarities of URA taxes and KCCA fees. I'm sure our taxpayers would like to know, is there a difference or are they the same thing, and how does one go about them? Thank you so much for joining us. Let's dive right into it. Augustine, before our taxpayers would like to know, most people confuse URA taxes being the same as KCCA fees. Is there a difference?
Thank you so much.
Yes.
There's no difference. Why? Because URA collects taxes for a country, and all of us are working together for the same goal. For instance, KCCA, Ministry of Law Government, URSP, and URA, we have the same objective. But all the same, what we collect goes to the revenue.
Thank you so much. So, Hafsa, would you agree with Augustine that there's no difference between URA taxes and KCCA fees? Or is there some small difference?
There's some, I would say there's a small difference.
Okay.
Because a tax comes out of an income.
Okay.
I wait for you to get income, then I come and tax.
Okay.
Whereas what they lean on more are levies.
Oh, okay.
We have levies, we have licenses, not really tax as in tax, but levies. And maybe secondly, whatever they charge. Well, let me give you an example. Pointing here, let's look at the property rate.
Okay.
When they manage their property under Revenue Authority, among the expenses that I will allow for this client under the rental income tax computation, I expect them to include what they paid under property rates.
Okay.
Reason why that happens, these are expenses like any other business expense. That in the event that you don't incur that expense, you may not be able to source the other income.
Okay.
Ideally, when you don't pay that, your premises may be locked. And when they are locked, I will not be able to realize that income at the end of the year in your tax return.
Okay.
So ideally, whatever is an expense that helps you to source that income I need, when it comes to URA, we allow that expense to be deducted before we can compute the final tax.
So would I be correct if I said that URA allows expenses of KCC?
I'm giving you an example in property rates. Okay. Because it depends. You could be paying a license, but what is it for? Oh, okay. If it's trading license, then that is basically permission for you to trade. Okay. And in the event that you don't have the permission, you won't open shop. And if you don't open shop, you won't be able to get the income I'm waiting for. So it depends what kind of license are they issuing and to what business. So we need to understand what they are issuing and see how exactly it fits in there. And maybe the other difference is that whatever they collect is meant to address the local government activities.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes
But
sense.
what I collect addresses central government
activities.
Yes.
Yes, just dwelling on what you just mentioned and explained.
Yes.
Augustine, would you mind giving us those fees that you collect so that people may know that there's the difference that Hafsa just explained, using the same example?
Okay, KCCA
Yes.
collect the license,
Okay.
collect the property rates, local service tax, and other taxes. For instance, for tours, we have a lot to collect in Kampala Capital City Authority.
Okay, could you just give us a breakdown of, let's say, 4 major ones that you collect, and then
Basically, we have property rates. In fact,
Okay.
it fetches most of the income.
most of the incomes? Yes.
We have local service taxes.
Yes.
License contribute a lot.
Okay.
Then some other taxes come and they depend on the season, for instance.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So let's look at the modes of payments of the fees of KCCA before we get into the ones of URA.
The modes of payment normally when a client comes, for instance, let me give an example.
Okay.
When a client comes with his money, we don't get cash from clients.
Okay.
What we do is that he picks a PRN from our offices, for instance, at State Hall. Then from other divisions, they pick them from there, from Nakawa, Kawempe, from Lubaga, from Central Division, and Machini. So when one picks a PRN, is assessed, or the system has all the amount of money supposed to be paid.
Okay.
Takes it to the bank, pays that money, comes back to pick a certificate. That's how the process is.
Okay, so should we say KCCA has fixed fees? They are not changed or anything?
This property rate is runs for 5 years.
Okay.
It goes on for 5 years. In fact, for the 5th year of this period ends this year.
Okay.
Yes.
And licenses?
License move on throughout the year. You know, a license is a permission to do a specific activity at a specific place. Now, a license carries 355 days. For instance, if it expires, if you take a license today on 29th, for instance,
Yes.
so it will expire on 28th next March next year. The following day, you are not allowed to run business.
To run business.
Let's give an example of a student going to school.
Okay.
When you want a student to go to the first gate, admitted, so you pay that admission fee. It's like an admission fee taken to the school. Then the student goes on. No, when a student comes to school, studies, then you go for an admission.
Okay.
So it allows you, or it permits you to do your work at a specific location for a period of time.
Okay, so Hafsa, still on the mode of payment, we know that URA has all these different taxes that are usually filed and paid by taxpayers. Is it the same mode of payment you mentioned of PRN, or are there other methods that URA uses?
Thank you very much. Ideally, Uganda Revenue Authority uses payment registration slips.
Okay.
Onto that slip, that's where the payment registration number is, and it is system generated.
Okay.
But ideally, what we did as URA, we created a platform for all the other government agencies.
Okay.
When they need to generate, say, a payment registration slip, they need to go via the portal.
Okay.
But clearly selecting what that client is paying under their jurisdiction.
Okay.
But they've gone through the portal. So at times even clients get confused when they look at the payment slip, and at times it has the URA logo. They may not go in depth to look at the narration on the slip. They may think they are paying URA, but ideally they are paying another agency, but getting the payment slip from the portal.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense because, like you said, people get confused. So they use the same system of payment.
They use the same system of payment because this was basically suggested by the Minister of Finance so that accountability becomes easy.
Okay, so if I may quickly ask again, if I'm a taxpayer and I have, let's say, a business or a property, can I get one PRN, fill in for both the KCCA fees and URA taxes and use the same form?
We haven't reached that level, but we are working hard to see that we reach that level. By the way, in the trade collaboration, that's the taxpayer register expansion program.
Okay.
We are looking at a single payment because we are all government agencies.
Okay.
We have 4 agencies under that collaboration,
Okay.
whereby we have Uganda Registration Services Bureau,
Mhm.
we have URA, KCC, and local government.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, if we are targeting one client, we are looking at that client getting one payment.
One payment.
So we are trying to see how basically we can do it, because my income tax depends on income, whereas the trading license is already a predetermined amount. So we want to see, and business registration, by the way, is predetermined.
Yes, it's also
And
predetermined.
okay, so we want to see how best we can help this client, not to keep coming for these payment slips, to see how best we can do it for them as they come to register the business, then they pay the license,
And
and
the
probably
taxes.
income tax comes in. So we need to see how best we can do it, because even the timings of income tax are not exactly the timings of registration. I would expect your first return, the provisional return, by the 30th of September that year. Whereas my colleagues, when they need their trading license, they need it ASAP. So we are trying to see how we can come up with a modification under the business process re-engineering work group.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I think that also is very key. It would help some clients, though not all.
Yes.
With maybe a problem or a constraint of timelines.
Yes.
Okay, so now if the taxpayers may need to know, or may be wondering, now we have what we call tax identification numbers, the TINs. So someone would want to know, or may wonder, do you have to use the TIN for both the KCCA fees and URA fees, or the TIN is only for URA fees, for URA taxes? Augustine.
Normally, any tax, a TIN is a tax identification number.
Yes.
It gives all the details of the company or the business.
Okay.
So that TIN helps you to be identified for your own business.
Okay.
And it's very important to have it. That's why it's given out free of charge, so that each and everybody registers. After registering, you are known. When you are known, that means we have a relationship between you and government. Basically, that's the best use of the TIN.
So do you use it to collect the licenses, the local service tax?
Like, you cannot collect from someone you don't know. That's what it is. So the TIN identifies a client, and if a client is identified, that means a TIN is used to know how the business is, what it does, and all the details.
Okay. That's quite interesting. And now, I guess, and again, would like to know, like you already explained some timelines for the different fees that you collect. Are there any specific timelines that you'd want taxpayers to know, or business people, someone who has property? Are there those timelines you'd want them to know, so that they don't come maybe at the last minute, or they don't come when you're not available, you can't help?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Property rates is collected on annual basis.
Okay.
And this amount of money, for instance, if it's 100,000, it moved for 5 years.
Okay.
That's number. Number two, property rates is supposed to be paid on annual basis.
Okay.
When the financial year ends, we are given 1 month. That one, after 1 month, it fetches 2% per month.
Okay.
What does it mean? If you are the total amount of money supposed to be paid is 100,000,
Okay.
it means in January it's going to fetch 2%. In February it's going to fetch 2% at the end of the year. Then, when the financial year ends, then the amount of money, another 100,000, is added. then it fetches 2%. That means it accumulates a lot. In this case, we encourage our clients to pay as soon as possible so that this 2% per month per year.
Okay, so if someone fails to pay on time, or they tell you, I do not have all the money, how do you treat them?
Normally, people who don't have the total amount of money are requested to write to the Director Revenue Collection.
Okay.
But not only that, I think the law gives an allowance of paying that amount of money in 2 bits.
Okay.
In 2 bits. For instance, if it's 100,000, you can come prepare and 50,000.
Okay.
Then you give when you are going to pay the balance,
Okay.
which is 50,000.
Okay. So what kind of clients, or I would say, what is your target audience as KCC when you're collecting these fees? Is it everyone, or?
Well, the target we have in collecting property rates are those people who have properties which fetch money.
Okay.
For instance, unoccupied buildings are not supposed to pay. Some which are exempted. For instance, the houses we sleep in, we don't pay property rates.
Okay.
Houses, the president, where the president sleeps, is not supposed to pay. Where the reverend fathers sleep with the sheikhs, the bishops, they don't pay. So there's some allowance somewhere. Some people are not paying. But basically, what we are looking at are the properties which our clients get money from. For instance, you build a building, it's an apartment, it is rented. Build a building, it has 5 shops. Those ones which they are occupied by your clients, that's where we get the property rates.
Okay. Besides those who own properties, any other group of people you collect from?
Basically, this is property rates.
Okay.
We collect from properties.
Okay.
That's why it is property.
Okay, and the informal sector or business sector, do you also collect from there as KCC, or you don't?
The property rates.
No, I mean the license, other fees.
Other fees.
Yes.
Other fees, it depends on the type of business one has.
Okay.
Yeah. For instance, there are instances. For instance, you look at an embassy building, you cannot collect from there.
Okay.
Yes, we cannot collect from there. Basically, we collect money from properties which fetch money.
Okay, thank you so much, Hafsa, about the payment timelines that we have in URA. You had mentioned some of them, but are there any other that our taxpayers need to take note of as of now?
Thank you very much. When we are looking at what we collect vis-a-vis what KCC collects,
Yes.
there are certain tax types that are a little similar, because as he talked about property rates, equally here I'll be addressing the rental income tax. And in the event that it falls under income tax, it takes the due dates for income tax. Income tax filing, if you are an individual, I would expect that provision by the 30th
Okay.
of September. And the final, ideally, I'll give you 6 months when the year ends. I'll be expecting it on the 31st of December.
Okay.
Some applies to when he collects local service tax. Ideally, here it's addressing pay as you earn. And pay as you earn is a monthly tax type where my return is due by the 15th of the following month.
Okay.
And the due date for return filing is equally the same due date for payment. Maybe what I wanted to reaffirm as a TREP, as a collaboration, it's very clear. The reason why we sit together is to ensure that all our interests are catered for.
Okay.
We sit together under one-stop shops that are scattered all over the country. There are about 44 in the cities, the municipalities, and Kampala. As central, we have about 11 on the divisions, every division, and some to make the 11 within Kampala.
Okay.
What exactly we agreed in a mandate is when one is starting business, ensure that before you license UKCCA, ensure that that client has a TIN.
Okay.
Because what are you licensing? You're licensing business. And this same business, ideally, is meant to source income.
Okay.
So why don't you help me and enforce the TIN at that level so that I am also catered for? And ideally, me as URA, when one is registering, let me give you an example, say a drug shop. A drug shop is meant to have a name. How will you distinguish it from another?
Okay.
Then that's when URSP comes in. Kindly register the name with URSP. It's a one-off registration for a business name, and it goes for 24,000. Then at the end of the day, all our interests will be catered for. Maybe to reaffirm the TIN arrangement, we made an amendment in the tax law that is in the tax law that is in the TPC, section 5, subsection 9, where it's clearly stated that no local authority, and I guess it comes from a local authority, or regulatory body. When I talk about regulatory body, I'm looking at Uganda Law Society, National Drug Authority, Uganda Engineers Registration Board. No regulating body will renew or will issue a license to an entity without a TIN.
Okay.
All this is meant to see that we can reinforce our register. How do we expand our register?
Okay.
Because there are people out there who are doing business, but we do not see them anywhere here. But when I do my enforcement, I don't need to run around chasing you, but I put the requirement at the time you're renewing a license.
Okay.
When you go to your association to renew, it is meant to address what I exactly need as Uganda Revenue Authority. Because ideally, my mandate is to mobilize revenue. How will I mobilize revenue for national development when you, who is supposed to support me as an association, you're not helping me because you have a bigger electorate of professionals that are affiliated to you. So that is how we want to trade, and that is how we've been moving up to date.
Okay.
Yes.
So a quick one, you mentioned that you were collaborating with different government agencies like UNSP,
Uganda Registration Services Bureau,
yes, KCCA, yes,
URA,
yes,
and local government.
yeah,
Outside Kampala, where we have the municipal councils,
okay,
now we have the cities.
okay,
Some got the status of cities. So whatever KCCA may be doing in Kampala,
okay,
our colleagues are doing it in the municipal councils. So that is why we have that that collaboration in such a way.
Okay, do you have like a streamlined process where clients can know that if I'm going to KCCA, I can also get some services of URA, or if I go to URA, there are some services of KCCA I can get?
What we did is we clearly specified that in the one-stop center arrangement.
Okay.
Because we have one-stop shops.
Yes.
And I clearly told you outside Kampala, every municipal council,
okay,
we are meant to have a one-stop shop.
Okay.
So that you'll find URSP there for business registration. Whatever you get after registering, then bring it to URA with your NIN. I will issue you a TIN, and that goes for free. Then my colleagues under local government will actually address the license bit. When it comes to Kampala, I'll replace the local government by KCCA because they have the jurisdictional mandate to manage that affair.
Okay, Augustine, I've heard there's a question I keep getting because sometimes, like on social media, people always ask, like, I went to KCC and they told me to go to URA. Is there an issue there? Or is there a cause that leads you to send people from KCCA to URA?
Normally, it was there sometime back when we had not come together as the CAPSA has explained. That problem was sorted. Basically, people who used to come to KCCA had some issues of that kind, as she has explained. That if I want a team, who issues a team? If I want a license, who issues a license? Now, this one-stop center or one-stop shop solve each and everything. For instance, if you come to LOTO right now, we have someone from KCCA, we have people KCCA, we have people from URA, we have people from URSP. So everything starts and ends there. Then it also solves a problem of time wastage. People used to move up and down to look for those things or for the registration and everything. But right now, it's done in one-stop center, as she has explained. All sorted.
Okay. Thank you so much. And it has been such a wonderful show, and to have you on the show. It's been such a pleasure, Augustine and Hafsa. And as we wind up, any last words, Augustine?
As KCCA and on behalf of Kampala Capital City Authority, the managers of your city, our city, I encourage all our clients to pay promptly. Whenever you pay you sort out a lot of problems. For instance, you are in business, when you close, it causes a lot of issues. But when you pay in time, it's a plus.
Any last words to our clients?
I would like to thank our clients who have been with us this morning to discuss these issues once again. And I would equally like to thank our agency representatives on the different one-stop centers for the services that they do issue. They simplify the process for our clients.
Yes.
Moving forward, they don't need to be walking up and down. So I would like to equally thank them, and maybe to make Ugandans appreciate why trade, because we have gone a long way. It has helped us to address our registers moving forward. Because I'll just compare and look at what he collects in property rates.
Yeah.
Then it will inform my rental register. I'll look at what he collects in trading license. Then I'll ask where these clients are if I don't have them on the tax register for taxpayer registration numbers.
Okay.
So ideally, we help one another, because at the end of the day, we are targeting this one client and we are serving the same government. So we are meant to simplify our service delivery to these clients, because we expect a lot from them moving forward. And I would like to thank them very much for having given us that coin, that with those taxes from time to time. It is really a discipline that they do come in, and I would like to remind them the month is coming to an end. The monthly returns are meant to be about to be due by the 15th of April. Kindly finalize what you need to do, pay as you earn withholding tax. I have local excise duty. I have VAT. So kindly do so, and most especially for withholding tax and pay as you earn. We issued a public notice as URA that effective the March return 2023 and moving forward, it won't be able to validate on the system if you don't have teams against your suppliers, that is withholding tax. If you don't have teams against your staff, either teaching or non-teaching. And I thought it would be prudent to remind them to ensure that they do the needful to see that everything goes well. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, our viewers. I hope that we've been able to pick up something on the differences and similarities of URA taxes and KCCA fees. For my take, I think today's take was the one-stop centers. I think it was a simplified way of being able to get the services from different agencies in one place, and also service delivery is key and important, and that is why we collect and mobilize this revenue. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day, and thank you for paying your taxes.
The reason why we are here this afternoon is to distract or destroy 13,000